pen tool for a minute. So we looked at shapes and we created most of the parts of our scenes using shapes. But I can also use the pen tool to draw or outline things. So for example, if I want to create like some snow caps on my mountains, even though my mountains are locked, it'll still kind of show me if I'm hovering over different parts of the mountain. So I might want to change my color to white. And I can turn off the stroke and just trace the edge of the mountain. And you can see it's not lining up exactly with where this mountain goes. So I might want to zoom in a little bit. So I can hit Command minus or Command plus to zoom in and out. And I'm holding space to get that hand tool to move across the drawing. So I'm kind of tracing these mountains, and you'll notice the fill changes as I add these points because it's calculating what the inside of the shape is. So it doesn't quite know what the inside of the shape is, but once I finish adding this in, I can kind of trace that, and now it has a better idea of the inside of the shape. So this point is a little bit off, but I'm not going to worry about that for now. I'm going to go back and edit it in a second. So the next thing I want to do is add a little bit of curve down here. So remember, if I take the pen tool and I hold, so I'm still holding the mouse, and I'm holding and dragging out, I get these curves. And I can edit those curves as well. So I have a curve point, and I can add another curve point over here. I'm going to zoom out a little bit and maybe add one over here. And so all I'm doing is I'm clicking and I'm dragging. I'm holding a little bit to get that curve, and then I'm dragging around to edit the curve. And so I can create this kind of curved part of my shape. This one is a little tricky to get used to, but it can be useful. And so then I'm going to click over here and then just connect it to the other side of the shape. And then another thing that we can review is I have these 2 points over here now. Oh no, it connected it for me. Okay, so that's good. So we'll leave that as is. And so now we can go back and edit these points if we want to. So I can get the direct selection tool, the one that is filled in, and I can see this point up here. It doesn't match, and so I can grab that point and move it around until it covers up the green. I can also move these points and then change my curves by grabbing these handles and moving the Bezier curves up and down. And I can see a little green outline, so I might want to move this up just a little bit to block that. And maybe I'll drag this down a little bit. And remember, I can also add points. So if I wanted more curvature here, I can get my pen tool again. And if there's no point along my path, it's going to show me a little plus. And if I see that plus, I can add a point. And now I have another point along my curve that I can make adjustments with. If I want to get rid of a point, I can grab the pen tool. Now when I hover over, if there's a point already there, it's going to assume that I want to subtract the point, so I can subtract the point that way. And I think that's pretty good. There's other stuff that we can do, but I think that's good enough for now. Any questions on the pen tool? All right, I'll keep going. Let me know if you have any questions. So the next one is the curved pen tool. This is for making curvatures. So the pen tool can make straight lines and curvatures. The curved pen tool is only going to make curvatures. So let's make a new layer. I'm going to lock that layer and make a new layer. I'm going to make some clouds. So I'll call this clouds. And so I'm going to use the curved pen tool for this. And you'll see If I just make a point, we don't see that line yet. If I make another point, now I can kind of see this curve. So if I'm making a cloud, I can kind of draw my different points, and it's going to add curves in between them. And I can still edit these points and edit the curvature, just like I can with a regular pen tool. So if I want to make edits to my cloud, I can do that. And then I can also, maybe I want to add a gradient in here. I can click on the gradient and double click here. And for my cloud gradient, I probably want like a white color and a blue color. And then I can rotate, rotate the gradient. So I have to kind of move my mouse over to the side here until I get this little rotation. And it's a little tricky. I'm sure a lot of you guys have noticed this. There's like a really small area where certain tools become available. So once I see that rotation, I have to stop moving the mouse, and then I can rotate. And then I can move the whole thing. If I click on the little bar, I can make the gradient smaller if I click on these endpoints. And then I can move my colors if I want to do that, and then I can rotate more if I want to. Maybe move the white down a little bit, like that. So I can have a nice little gradient for my cloud. And then that's pretty good. Okay, so I have a little cloud. So next, let's look at the brush tool. So the brush tool, we looked at that a little bit in Photoshop, and typically, I associate the brush tool more with Photoshop, but we can use the brush tool in Illustrator as well. I'm going to open up my properties panel so I can see. So I've still got my gradient fill and no stroke, and that's okay. I can draw like that. So let's actually make a new layer so we're not drawing on our cloud. So I'm going to make a new layer, and maybe I'll just draw myself here. So I'll say this is myself, and I can draw with the brush tool. It's a little tricky to do with your mouse. It might be easier with an actual paintbrush or a stylus or something like that. And notice with my gradient, it goes across that whole little drawing that I made. So we might not want a gradient there. I can go back here and choose a different color. Maybe something that will stand out. So I'll take my brush tool again. So it's not very easy to draw with the brush tool and the mouse. I'm just going to draw a little smiley face. Oh, it's not really smiling. There we go. And a little stick figure body. So unless you have like a stylus or something like that, you're probably not going to want to spend a lot of time with the brush tool, but it can be useful for making a quick drawing. And I can also edit these points. So if I want to connect these two guys right here, I can drag them together. And they're not officially connected even though they're in the same place right now. So if I want to join them, I can select, I can drag across both of them, and then right click and click join. And so now I have one point, and I can, I can fix that a little bit. So I can use the brush tool to make drawings if I want to, but that's probably, unless I have a different type of setup, I'm probably not going to do a lot of painting with the mouse. There's also the pencil tool, which is like kind of the same thing, except you're just going to be drawing skinny lines. So you might want to use that, but it's probably not that useful. We'll look at another thing that we can do with our brush strokes in a second. So that's the brush tool. You probably won't use it all that much, but it could be useful if you want to try it. So let's add. We also have a type tool. This one's pretty straightforward. We can just add type. So if I draw a big box, it's going to fill in some text for me. I could say, "Hi, this is my self-portrait," and just like in Photoshop, if I want to edit that type, I have to have it selected. So if I go to my properties and I change things like the font or the size, notice it's not actually doing anything when I'm changing those numbers because I don't have my type selected. So I have to have the actual type that I want to change selected, and then I can make it bigger. I can center it if I want to. I can choose a larger size. That's too big. And I can change the color. So if I want to change the fill, I can do some crazy gradient pattern thing, or I can just do a regular color. And I can add to the stroke as well. Let's see, is there anything? Oh, and I can change the font. So it's pretty similar to Photoshop, except where we have the same fonts. Let's see if I can find a cool font. Okay, that one's pretty good. Maybe I'll make it smaller. So if you want to add some text, you can do that. You don't have to. Maybe I can also do like a stroke but no fill. That might look kind of cool. So it's just like outlines. Oh, but I have to select my text for that to work. So let's turn off the fill, turn on the stroke. So I could have some outlines if I want to do that. Looks kind of cool. Although when I zoom out, it's kind of hard to read, so maybe not the best. Okay, so if you want to add type, you can do it using the type tool. A couple kind of cool effects that you can do that I'll go over quickly, and then we can do exporting our image. So there's some more advanced kind of features in the tool set that you can see down here. I'm just going to go over a couple of them that could be useful. So let's make another cloud. So we drew this cloud using the curvature tool, but we could also use some shapes and then combine them. The shape builder tool is really useful for that. So if let's say I wanted to make a cloud that's like a bunch of circles. So I just put like some circles here. And that looks not bad actually by itself, but if we wanted to combine those, I could grab all of the circles and then click on the shape builder tool, and then it's going to let me either combine or remove different parts of these shapes. So what I want to do in this case is just draw basically on all of the intersections, and it's going to make one big circle for me, or one big shape for me. And so now I have this shape. Oh, there's a little detail that I missed. That's okay, let's just delete those anchors. So I'm just clicking on the anchors and hitting the delete button. I don't really want these in here. Okay, I had a little too much detail in that one, so I didn't capture everything, but that's okay. So now I have this one big shape that I can still edit. I can go in and I can move the anchors if I want. So I can still edit the shape itself, but I can use the shape builder to combine the shape. So we did something similar to that with our little moon crescent shape where we did the Pathfinder, but the shape builder is a slightly faster and more interactive way to do that. And I can see I have some alpha in this gradient, which I didn't realize, but that makes sense. So another way that I can make some clouds if I want to do that, I can put this guy over here. And it's going to look like this. It's a compound path, so I can double click on it. It should open. And I can also release it into its parts. So that's one useful, the shape builder tool. You can also do things, I don't know if I'm going to get this right, but I think I can do something like remove this edge here. So if I select both of these parts and then take the shape builder tool, is it going to let me do that? No. I guess it doesn't work with strokes. Maybe I have to select them in a different order. Oh, I probably have to expand them first. Okay. So maybe we'll try expanding those in a second. Another tool that is useful for making some effects. So I have this like little crescent moon here. I'm gonna unlock this and let's grab this moon. So, oops. Another cool effect I can do is this morph or blend tool. See if I hover, it should give me a preview. Okay. So I need to have two shapes for this. So if I take my crescent and I'm gonna hold Option or Command Option, and I'm gonna drag and just create a new version of it. And I'll take this one and make it smaller. So let's, I'll hit Command T. Oh. Or I'm just hitting Command rather. And I can make this smaller. And then if I select my two shapes, I can click on the Morph tool. And it's going to give me this little thing. Oops. Let me try that again. Okay, I click on the Morph tool. Oh, it's thinking. Oh, okay. I'm clicking too much. It's a little slow. So let's try that one more time, more slowly. So I'll click on here. All right, I don't know why it's doing that. That's kind of weird. Okay, let's try it one more time. Let me make sure I select these guys. Okay. Maybe I didn't have them selected right. Okay, so it's doing it a little bit. It's not quite.
What is it supposed to do exactly?
It's supposed to make like this like gradient between the shapes. It like morphs in between the shapes, but it's only doing it once. I wonder if there's something I need to click on. Or maybe yeah, and then it's doing that. It's weird. Okay, I'm just gonna try a different shape. So let's delete this. Let's get our circle back. And another thing that I can actually use the shape builder tool for is making that kind of crescent shape that we made the other day. So I can take both of these and then take my shape builder and just get that one. So I just took this one part and it takes that shape out. So now I can remove that and just get rid of these extra shapes. Okay, so let's try it again with this shape. So I'm going to hit Command Option to duplicate. I'm going to take this guy and scale it down a little bit. And let's also change the color because we can morph between the colors as well. And then let's grab both of these guys, click the Morph tool. There we go. Okay. So you can see it morphs the shape as well as the color between the two parts. And then I can edit this shape as one thing. And I can move the anchor as well. So I can create this kind of cool 3D effect. And I can move these shapes around. I can adjust the original shapes because I still have the original shape data. And so I can make it kind of like pop out this way. So it's kind of a cool effect. It might not be that useful, but it's kind of a neat thing that you can do. One more tool that I'm going to show you guys, and it also goes over a couple more things that we can do with our paths. So I have this like little mouth here, And you can see that the stroke on the mouth is just the same thickness all the way through. If I want to make that a little bit more expressive, something that I can do, but first I have to do something called live trace, which is going to give me like a shape. So I can take this path and go to Object and go to Live Paint, not Live Trace, Live Paint, and click Make, and say OK. And I might have to do one more thing. Let's check. So there's this width tool where, oh yeah, I have to, okay, what else do I have to do? I have to live paint and then release. There we go. Okay. So now I can use the width tool and I can come in here and make parts of my stroke that are larger. And I can do this as much as I want. Like I can add one here if I want to make different points. Maybe I want to expand it on the other side a bit. So when I make a new point, it gives me this like width of the stroke. So I can kind of make it skinnier or wider at different parts. And I don't know why I changed the color, but we can get our color back. So that way I can make strokes that are a little bit more expressive than just the default line. And if once I have this, another thing I can do is if I want to edit this as a shape rather than a stroke, I can take this stroke and go to Path and then Outline Stroke, and then that'll give me a shape with the points that I would have in like a circle or a square. So I can make further edits that way as well. So there's a few different options. You might not need to use stuff like that, but it can give you a little bit more tools to kind of have different shapes and different ways to express things. So here's my beautiful self-portrait so far. I'm going to save this. Let's pause for a second, and if you guys have questions, I can go over it, and then we'll go over exporting.